Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be finally installing the ABS pump into the Hellcat station wagon. So my original plan was to use the Hellcat Charger / Challenger ABS pump, but unfortunately that is not the case. So the issue that I'm seeing is the Durango / Trackhawk ABS pump has different valving. It's also wired differently. It has a different module, and I think to be able to use the Charger / Challenger ABS pump, I'd have to do a bunch of programming to get it to work in the BCM and the ECU. The other issue is there's not just wiring differences, there's also valving differences. So I have both ABS pumps over here, and as you can see, we have the Charger / Challenger ABS pump, the Durango / Trackhawk ABS pump. They look pretty similar, but you can see the plugs are different, which isn't that big of a deal. The lines going in from the master cylinder are in different orientation, but then we get into the problem. So we have the front left line coming in, or the line going out to the caliper, and over here, this is the front left. So not just the size is different, so I'm going to have to swap the fittings to make them work, but also if I would wire this one up to work with the Durango ECU, the Durango ECU would think it was commanding the front left caliper, but it would be commanding the front right caliper, which is a very big issue. So if it was commanding the front right caliper when it was thinking it was commanding the front left caliper, it would see that wheel speed sensor on the front right caliper slow down, but the front left wouldn't slow down. So then it would confuse it in the ECU and it would throw a fault, which with all-wheel drive, faults are not a good thing because then it starts turning stuff off. It doesn't work. They're almost impossible to track down with something stupid like that. So what I need to do is I need to modify the lines, which is probably going to be more tedious and time consuming than hard, but I also want to make this pump mount into the car. So as we can see right here, we got the Durango ABS pump, and this is the bracket from the Charger Hellcat. In the mounting, these are the mounting holes, and these are the mounting holes on the Charger, a different position, but the pump's a little bit shorter. So what I'm going to do is make a 1/4 inch spacer that bolts into the Durango mounts, and those bolts are going to be countersunk, and then this will bolt onto that with the original bolts from the Charger Hellcat ABS pump. So let's get this done first. So this will bolt into the car. So I'm now home. What I'm going to do is I'm going to design that spacer. I now have the spacer designed. What you're going to do is come to Send Cut Send, add a drawing, select your file, let it upload, which is usually pretty quick, and then you go next. I'm going to use a metal, aluminum, 6061. I want it, we'll just go with that. Just need one. Next, add hole operations. It's going to show that there is 4 holes. You select them. So this one is going to be tapped. I now have the ABS pump adapter I designed from Send Cut Send, and I'll have a link in the description with my discount code, but let's see if this is gonna work. I'm really hoping that I designed everything correctly. So far, so good. All right. Oops. All right, so we have it adapted. Looks super clean. All nice and flush. Look at that. Now, we have the Trackhawk ABS pump, and it fits in the factory charger position. This is great. Yeah, look at that. So nice. Clean, right in there, like OEM. I now have the rear and the front all the way done, minus the pads, the rotor, the brake lines, and the axles. So what I'm gonna do now is set her down under her own weight. The front, I'm not sure how much is gonna compress those coilovers, so I left it quite a bit of a fender to tire gap. But I'm going to close that in once everything is finally together. But I also didn't have all the same tires. So we have a like a 295, 45, 20 on that side. This, I think that's a factory Trackhawk tire. And then we have all the Hellcat tires on this side. So let's lower her down and finally see what she's going to look like. One other thing that I just remembered was the transmission I can't put into neutral, so I need to probably pull the drive shaft so I can move her around. But I want to put her on her own weight, see what she's going to look like, and then kind of move from there. All right, she is definitely a heavy girl because, as you remember, I haven't adjusted those coilovers at all, and that's how much it compressed the spring. That's a lot. So what I need to do is I need to adjust the coilovers so the ride height's a little bit better. It's way too slammed right now. I do not want it that low. And then on the other side, with that 45 series tire, it is just like tucking it. Then in the back, I'm using a spare, and she's like really tucked up in there, like super tucked. Yeah, so we're gonna have to resolve this issue, which isn't that big of an issue. I think the coilovers in the rear too need to be adjusted a little bit, but it could also be being weird because of the different size tires from side to side. But I still know that I'm gonna have to adjust this up just a hair because I want this gap to probably be a little bit more than that. Probably like, not like that, maybe like 2 fingers or 3 fingers. In the back, I want it to stay pretty much exactly how it is. So this side, it seems like it stayed perfectly fine, but I don't know if it's all the way off of the, yeah, it's not all the way off the lift yet. So let's adjust the coilovers up a little bit more and then set her back down. And yeah, she'll finally be ready to go. Yeah, she's looking good. So I now have the front ride height sorted out. I wanted to have at least 3 to 4 fingers of wheel gap to this arch. And the reason why there's so much gap in the front is the front wheel arch is always higher up on every car than the rear. And if you match the wheel arch gaps front to rear, you're gonna have it raked like this, which this is all-wheel drive. I don't need it to be raked. When I launch this car, I want all 4 wheels to stay planted on the ground as much as possible. So that being said, I want this to be almost perfectly parallel to the ground. I'm gonna set the suspension up so when I do launch it, it's gonna try to keep all 4 wheels in contact. Obviously, Trackhawks lift the front end up about 2 inches as you accelerate. So I'm guessing even with the coilovers, this is going to do the same. These coilovers are compressing a lot. I'm actually surprised. I have them 14.5 inches from the top of the strut all the way down, and it's probably compressing that spring at least 4 inches, which is crazy. So that being said, maybe like 2 to 4 inches. That being said, that's a lot of weight on the front of the car. These are Hellcat springs, so they shouldn't have an issue with the weight, but I really want to figure out how much she weighs, and I'm just really happy that she is finally on the ground under her own weight. I need to pull the drive shaft off still. In the next video, I'm going to move her off the lift, do all of the new shop lights in here so we can see something at night, and kind of go from there. But I'm super happy that she is finally coming together. Finally so close. I'm still waiting, like I've said before, still waiting on the front drive shaft and the headers. It's almost, or is today Friday? Is today Friday? If today's Friday, I thought the headers were going to be here today. So maybe they'll be here when I get home, hopefully. But waiting on the headers, I pretty much have the whole steering shaft situation resolved. So all that, once the headers go in, the steering shaft will be done. And then really all I'm going to need to do is take her and get an alignment. But I'm really happy that I had that piece made by Hellcat. So big shout out. We now have the ABS pump finally mounted. I just had to make that adapter so we could use, like I said in the beginning of the video, I wasn't going to be able to get the factory Hellcat ABS pump to work with the factory Durango Hellcat / Trackhawk ABS pump system, just because the modules are so different and the ABS pumps themselves are. So I most likely would have had a bunch of issues. Now I don't have to worry about that because we're using the Durango one, bolts to the factory bracket, looks super OEM, super clean. But I'm going to end the video here. If you like these videos, make sure to click the subscribe button, throw a thumbs up, throw a comment below. As always, see you guys next time.